Hello again guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Burning Blue Design's Popham. I hope you enjoyed that little introduction to Burning Blue Design's most recent scenery and probably my favourite of their output so far. Popham is a really nice little airfield, it's great fun as well, runway 26 makes for an interesting approach. And as you can see, the level of quality and detail certainly living up to the usual standards from Burning Blue Designs. Anyway, Popham Airfield is the home of the Spitfire Flying Club, which, as I understand it, doesn't have a whole lot to do with flying the Spitfire, it's really just a namesake. But I thought since it's the home of the Spitfire Flying Club, it would be a perfect opportunity to take out the FlyingIron simulation Spitfire Mark 9 once again. As you can see, I now have my own flashy livery for the Spitfire Mark 9, and I think that the aircraft looks rather beautiful in this particular colour scheme. I certainly can't take full credit for the livery though, I've just adapted a paint scheme that I found on flightsim.to, so a big thank you to Brad617 for providing the original paint scheme. Anyway, today's flight is just going to be a little bit of a hop around the local area. We're currently on the ground, of course, at Popham, and we're going to take the aircraft down to the Isle of Wight via Portsmouth and then come back. Actually, the flight didn't go entirely as planned. As you can see, it's a fairly pleasant morning on the ground at Popham here at the moment, so I was hoping we'd have a nice scenic run down towards the Isle of Wight, get some beautiful shots of the Spit along the way. But unfortunately, as you'll see throughout the video, the weather rather closed in on us during the flight. Not quite the conditions I was hoping for, but nonetheless it made for an interesting trip. Anyway, ladies and gents, as always, I do hope you enjoy the video. If you do, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. If you have any comments or questions for me, you can leave those down in the comments section below. Let's now get ourselves on board the very fetching Into the Blue Spitfire and be on our way. So good morning and welcome once again to the cockpit of the FlyingIron Simulations Supermarine Spitfire Mark 9. Obviously we've had a chance to take a little bit of a look at Burning Blue Design's Popham, which is a really nice scenery from them. Anyway, I thought it'd be a really nice opportunity to once again take the Spitfire up into the air. FlyingIron Simulations have done a lot of work on the aircraft since its release and it's now in a really nice state. We've just got on board the aircraft, so we'll get the cockpit door closed up. And the pre-flight checks, the mixture control lever is in the cut-off position, landing gear lever is down, drop tank fuel selector is off, main tank fuel selector is off, fuel tank pressure cock is off, flight controls are full free and in the correct sense, magneto switches are both off, we'll advance the throttle fully forwards, and we have the gear down indication and the fuel pressure warning lights. Throttle can come back to fully aft. Fuel contents, so we've fully fueled up the aircraft for the flight today. And we're showing a full fuel load in the bottom tank. Parking brake is set on. For the start itself, the main fuel tank selector can come on. Throttle will open out about 1 inch. RPM control lever is set to fully forward. Carburetor air intake control is set fully forward. We'll unscrew the primer and we'll prime the engine 5 times. We'll give the wobble pump a few blasts to get some pressure into the fuel system. Now the fuel pressure warning light has gone out, nav lights can come on, mags can come on, checking that the prop area is clear. We just got this ground attendant on the left, she's fully aware that we're about to start the engine. So all clear. Clear up! We'll open up the guards on the starter and the booster and we'll engage. So we have a good start, we'll cage up the starter and the booster coil again. Just come back slightly on the throttle there to idle around 1000 to 1200 RPM. Oil pressure has come up, that's showing about 80 psi there at the moment, so within limits. We'll get the primer closed up again. Fuel pump can come on, as can the pitot heat. And for the oxygen system, we'll be low level throughout the flight today, so we're not going to need any oxygen, we'll leave that off. In terms of the engine warm-up, the oil pressure is already within limits. For the oil temperature we're looking above 20 degrees Celsius, so we've just come up above that now. And on the coolant temperature there we're looking for above 60 degrees, so just waiting on the coolant temperature there at the moment. In the meantime, we'll get the aircraft set up for the departure. Directional gyro currently showing a heading of about 176 degrees. And we do now have a working P8 compass, which is really nice to see. So we'll just set that. And showing a heading there of about 178, so the directional gyro is correct. First heading out towards Petersfield will be a heading of 135, so we can set that now. The altimeter will just set aerodrome elevation for the moment, but we'll get a QNH from air traffic later on before we line up. And lastly, we'll get the radio tuned up. Unfortunately at the moment the radio doesn't work correctly. I think that's an issue with Sim Update 5, so we'll just use the air traffic menu. And we'll set the transponder to standby. So we'll just hold here a little bit longer, wait for that coolant temperature to come up through 60 degrees Celsius. Expecting air traffic to clear us out towards runway 26. As you can see, the wind's more or less straight down the runway at the moment. That's great for us as the holding point's just off the left wing, and it should also make for a really interesting approach coming back into Popham later on. Runway 26 is by far the most fun runway to operate off. Anyway, as I say, we'll just wait on that coolant temp. We'll call up for the taxi clearance once we're there. We'll carry out our run up at the holding point, and I'll come back to you again once we're ready for the departure. So as you can see, we're now at the holding point for runway 26. We just finished the run up, everything looking good there. And air traffic have just given us our clearance for takeoff. So the part brake can come off. We'll set the transponder to out. A little bit tricky to check final at the moment with that big beefy Merlin sat out in front of us, so we'll just have a good look as we turn onto the runway. And as you can see, Burning Blue Designs have even modelled the BP garage just across the road there. Anyway, it's all clear on final. So swing us around onto runway 26. And again, looking at the windsock, as you can see, the wind is more or less down the runway. So we're all set and ready to go. We'll come up to 8 PSI on the boost for the takeoff. So power is set, T's and P's looking good. And we're up. Just tap the brakes, the gear can come up. And climbing away nicely, so we'll come back on the power now. There's 4 PSI on the boost. Come back to about 2600 RPM. Just get the cockpit closed up. And we'll turn on to our heading. So looking for a heading of 135 as I said. We'll level off around 2,000 feet by the looks of it. The cloud base is fairly low here this morning. Only 4 minutes out towards Petersfield, so looking for a time of around 09. Looks like we might not even make it up to 2,000 feet at the moment, so we'll just level off where we are. Just keep coming left onto that heading. A really beautiful sunrise here this morning though on the southern coast of the UK. So there's a heading of 135. Get the aircraft trimmed out. Yeah, there's just a little bit of cloud around here at around 1,500 feet, so we'll have to avoid that for now. Hopefully we'll be able to climb just a little bit higher later on. Anyway, looking good on the heading. We've got about another 3 minutes to run in terms of the time. The carburetor air filter control can go back to the R position. Once again though, the FlyingIron Spit overall has really come along in leaps and bounds since its release. It was a very nice aircraft on release to be fair, but it's even better now. It's just flies absolutely wonderfully, and as you can see on the takeoff, it doesn't have any strange behaviour anymore in terms of the aircraft violently swinging during the takeoff. A lot of cockpit sounds have been added as well, some really nice sounds throughout the cockpit. I think the engine sounds are somewhat improved as well. It's definitely still right up there with my very favourite aircraft in the sim. Partly, I will admit, because it's a Spitfire. Just having to weave in and out of the clouds here at the moment. Obviously we want to maintain visual for our flight today. Also having to slightly deviate from the heading there just to avoid this bank of cloud on our left. It's looking like that's the last of the low cloud, at least out towards the southeast though, so hopefully we can gain just a little bit more altitude now, as I say. Doesn't really get much better than flying out of an airfield like Popham in an aircraft like the Spitfire. But what an absolutely glorious morning. You can already see the southern coast there actually. You can actually make out the Isle of Wight as well, but we'll continue on our flight plan. Another minute or so till we reach Petersfield. Temperatures and pressures looking pretty good there. The radiator temperature's a little bit on the high side, perhaps we'll keep a good eye on that. And here's the town of Petersfield, just off at our 11 o'clock. The next heading out towards the Spinnaker Tower is 209, so we'll set that on the P8. There's 209 set. And that'll only be a 3-minute leg, another quick leg out towards the tower. So expecting to arrive there at time 13. Ever so slightly to the right of track at the moment. We'd planned to fly over the town itself, but obviously weaving in and out of that cloud early on has thrown us slightly off course. Anyway, we'll turn now to a heading of 209. Looks like it's going to be another bank of cloud we might have to avoid en route. And of course our heading is going to take us pretty much directly through that, so we'll just stay slightly out to the east for now. Then we can just track up the coast towards the tower. It's a nice, easy visual reference anyway. It's probably the most recognisable landmark on this particular stretch of the southern coastline. Sun's still coming up in the east at the moment. Slightly more gloomy morning than I was hoping for, but nonetheless a really pleasant time of the day to be flying. I think what we might do once we get over to the Isle of Wight is bust through a hole in the clouds if we can find one, get above the clouds, enjoy some of that early morning sunlight and some of the views of the absolutely beautiful FlyingIron Spitfire Mark 9. So we can just turn now back towards the west, and as I say, we'll follow the coastline in towards the Spinnaker Tower. You can just see Portsmouth off the nose at the moment. Looks like there's a couple of ships down there in the harbour. Portsmouth, of course, home of the Royal Navy, and I think we have a Queen Elizabeth class carrier just off the left of the nose. We'll take a closer look at that as we pass by. Sure they wouldn't mind a bit of a flyby from us this morning. That radiator temperature is looking pretty stable, so no major concern there. The oil temperature's around 85 degrees. We'll just check the fuel contents as well. Bottom tank's still full, as we would expect. You can see the spinnaker tower just off our 11 o'clock, just to the left of the windshield pillar. And it does look like the cloud base is just a little bit higher as we get towards the coastline here. Albeit not much, we're still only at 1400 feet here at the moment. So there's the spinnaker tower, you can see the carrier just down on our left. One of two relatively new British aircraft carriers. As I say, they're the Queen Elizabeth class. We've now of course got the F-35 fighter as well. And there's spinnaker tower. Which I think it's fairly obvious where the name comes from. Anyway, we'll do our lap around the Isle of Wight. As I say, we'll probably head up above the clouds as well, just to get some nice views of the early morning sunshine. We'll head outside the aircraft to do that. Of course, it would be remiss of us not to take a look at the absolutely beautiful Mark 9. And I'll come back to you again once we're inbound, heading back towards Portsmouth. We'll head back towards Popham and we'll fly the approach back onto runway 26. welcome back. Unfortunately we got stuck above the clouds a little bit longer than I was planning there. It took quite a while to find a gap, but we've got back down below them. Certainly more of a beautiful morning up above than it is down below. Anyway, we'll head back towards Spinnaker Tower and then we'll continue on towards Petersfield. Essentially just returning in the direction which we came. Heading from Petersfield will be 029, I've already set that up on the P8 compass. So just crossing back over the Solent, headed back towards Portsmouth for now. It looks like there is still some low level cloud around, so we'll probably have to dodge that again on the way home. Once again though, the Mark 9, just an absolute joy to fly. It was lovely throwing around a little bit above the clouds. Really enjoying the flight thus far. So we have Spinnaker Tower once again, just off the nose. You can see HMS Queen Elizabeth. We'll get turned on to our heading of 029. Try and gain a little bit of altitude again, but as I say, the cloud base is obviously restricting what we can do a bit this morning. And I'm looking for another 3-minute leg back towards Petersfield, so expecting to arrive at time 5:3. Just about make out Chelsea Point there, off to the east, off the right wing. And we're just passing over the M27 motorway at the minute on our left. Up at 1700 feet here at the moment. Not really going to be able to get any higher than that. And just coming up over the town of Horndean. That's just off our 11 o'clock. So once again, we'll try and stay around 1500 feet. That looks about as high as we can reasonably go here at the moment. And just weaving our way through the clouds. So as I say, we'll head back towards Popham. We'll expect runway 26 again, which should be really good fun. That's got the offset approach. You may have seen me fly that in my review of the Just Flight Pipe Warrior, but it should be even more fun in a Spitfire, of course. So once we're over Petersfield, we'll tune up Popham Tower and we'll request a landing from them. We'll fly overhead the field and we'll come back in for runway 26. A little bit of a ridge line here off the nose, I can see that on the map at the moment. Petersfield is just the other side of the ridge line. A little bit tricky to make out again with this low cloud cover. I think I can just about make it out through the cloud. Nice little challenge though, low level flying with fairly high speed aircraft as well. Doesn't mean you've got to be on your A game with the VFR navigation side of things. Especially when you can't make out too many visual references. So heading back to Popham is 3:15. Time's just coming up from 5:3 now. And there's 3:15. And basically just maintain the heading all the way back to Popham. It should be relatively easy to find the field. We can just wait until we cross the motorway. We've got Basingstoke just out to the north, so it's pretty major visual references we can use there to help us actually ascertain where Popham is itself. As I say, we'll call up the tower again. And we'll request a full stop landing.
Tower Super Green Golf, India Tango Bravo Sierra 13 miles southeast, 1,100 feet to land.
Super Marine Golf, India Tango Bravo Sierra Tower. QNH 30.13 with 283 at 20. Enter right base, runway 26.
Right base runway 26 Super Green Tango Bravo Sierra.
Okay, so that's great. They are using runway 26, which is exactly what we wanted. She's asked for a right base, so we'll fly overhead the field initially and come back round for runway 26. Hopefully none of this low cloud is going to have drifted in over Popham, or it's going to make flying the circuit that much trickier. I think we'll be okay. Just making sure we maintain our heading. Now we'll just check the directional gyro hasn't drifted too much there as well. Showing heading there of about 310. So the directional gyro is good. Now we'll just keep a really good eye out for the motorway coming southwest out of Basingstoke. Not really a whole lot else we can use in terms of visual references on the way home. It's only a 4-minute leg, so expecting to arrive around time 5:07, currently 5:05. It's about another 2 minutes to run until we hit Popham. Passing through a little bit of haze here again at the moment, as you can see. Got a town off our left wing there, that might well be Winchester by the looks of things. And again, it'd be nice to just be able to get a little bit more height here so that we could identify a few of the features in the land a bit more readily, but all out of luck today. Okay, so it looks like we just crossed over the motorway. We'll swing back round and we'll follow that north. As I say, that'll lead us all the way back towards Popham. Can't quite make out the town of Basingstoke yet. Anyway, we'll follow the motorway and that should take us home. Okay, so we've got Popham just off the left wing. Again, she wants us on a right base, which makes sense. That is the correct direction to enter for runway 26. So we'll get our downwind checks done, brakes are checked and off, undercarriage will hold, mixture is rich, fuel pump is on, fuel contents is sufficient, instruments are checked, landing light we don't have, harness is secure. Come all the way back off the power. Let that speed start coming back. We'll give ourselves a nice long run into runway 26. Plenty of time to get the aircraft set up for the arrival. We get the cockpit opened up as well whilst we haven't got too much going on. Now we'll take the landing gear down. So there's runway 0321. Just come out to the left of that to put us in for a final onto runway 26. We'll get the speed back below 160 miles per hour and then we'll take the flaps. So good there on the speed, flaps can come down. And they are showing down. So just looking for our little ground marker, which I think is right off the nose at the moment. Anyway, pitch is full fine, undercarriage is down, flaps are set, landing clearance has been received. Very tricky to see the runway at the moment. We'll have to visually identify that it's clear once we turn on to final. Now we'll just weave our way down the approach, just to give us some idea of what's going on in front of the nose. There's the visual marker just off the left. And bringing us around onto runway 26. Coming off the throttle. Holding the aircraft off. There's touchdown. Onto the brakes.
Supermarine Tango, Bravo Sierra, exit runway with naval.
Now we'll just vacate off to the right.
Supermarine Tango, Bravo Sierra, contact ground on 129.805.
Going to 129.805 Supermarine Tango, Bravo Sierra.
Another Spitfire off there on the left. Anyway, we'll more or less just taxi back to where we originally had the aircraft parked. Landing wasn't too bad overall. I think we slightly overcooked the tail there on final. Touchdown was nice, so I was pretty happy with that. Flaps can come up. We should have got those up when we landed. I always forget that in the Spitfire. Get the transponder off as well. Yeah, not quite what I was planning on showing you this morning. I was hoping to make it a nice scenic little hop, but the weather not really complying there. Overall though, I really enjoyed the flight. It made for an interesting little challenge. You have to ignore the smoke effects there. That's just come about as a result of Sim Update 5. Anyway, I think we'll go and park up next to our attractive lady friend. I'm sure she'll be suitably impressed by our Spitfire, who wouldn't be? Park brake can come on. Come back on the throttle again. Let the engine idle around 1000 RPM. So transponder is off. We'll get the pitot heat and the fuel pump off. Cut the fuel. And just wait for the engine to run down. Close the throttle, the mags can come off. Get the nav lights off as well. And lastly we'll get the battery off. So the aircraft shut down, we'll open up the cockpit door once again. And we'll go and see if we can't persuade a certain someone to go and grab a cup of coffee. So there you go guys, I hope that once again you enjoyed gallivanting around with me in the FlyingIron simulation Spitfire. As you can see, the weather now here in Popham is far less pleasant than when we departed the airfield earlier this morning. Again, not quite what I was hoping to show you on the flight today, but I think it made for an interesting run nonetheless. I can't say that everything we did to get back to Popham was textbook in terms of VFR flight, but that's one of the joys of the sim. You can push the boundaries a little bit more, challenge yourself and have some fun. And overall, those changeable weather conditions en route really going to highlight what the sim is actually now capable of when the live weather system is working well. Anyway, once again, I hope you enjoyed the Spit, and of course Burning Blue Designs Popham. Once again, I think it's a really nice scenery from Burning Blue Designs, and as you saw, that approach onto runway 26 just makes the airfield a really interesting one to operate in and out of. As always, thank you ever so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. If you have any comments or questions for me, you can leave those down in the comments section below, and I'll always do my best to answer them. And as always, thank you ever so much to my channel members and patrons for all of your support. It is hugely appreciated. Anyway guys, I hope you all have a great day wherever you are. Take good care of yourselves, and I will see you all again soon.